Hi and welcome. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. There was a couple of days ago, a state-backed German bank says that Bitcoin will leap to $90,000 in 2020, specifically May 2020, because they're actually talking about the Bitcoin halving. So let's get started. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. I am not smarter than you. You are smarter than you realize. Do not trust what I say. Do your own research. So the state-backed German bank says Bitcoin will leap to $90,000 in 2020. The German bank BayernLB has published a report on Bitcoin versus gold in which it predicts a big leap from the current cryptocurrency in 2020. Bitcoin outshining gold. On October 1, the Munich-based state-owned bank published its latest research report that seems to suggest that the forthcoming Bitcoin halving effect is yet to be factored into its current price of around $8,300. Now it goes on and quotes somebody from the bank, and that person says, historically speaking, it has invariably been the commodity with the highest stock-to-flow ratio at that juncture, which has been used as money because this enabled the best value transfer over time. What he's really talking about here is that in the past, the assets that were chosen to represent money, such as gold, coins, etc., because the US dollar used to be backed by gold, that asset has been used historically as money because it provided the greatest value transfer over time. In other words, if I gave it to you today, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, 100 years down the road, it still has value. And in some cases, the value has increased somewhat or even significantly. Now, the stock-to-flow ratio of a commodity such as gold is the amount of the asset that is held in reserves divided by the amount of the asset produced annually. So said in another way, what they're talking about is when they talk about creating a stock-to-flow ratio, they're really talking about looking at, okay, how much of that asset exists today and how much is getting created new every year. And they divide that to come up with a ratio, and that ratio tells them how many years they need to create new in order to equal the current existing stock or the current existing amount that's in reserves or available or in use. And so that stock-to-flow ratio historically has proved to be very valid, very accurate in predicting normal commodities such as gold, silver, platinum, etc., because they could look and see how much is getting mined out of the ground and how much there currently exists, and then they would base that to try and determine current value versus future value. Well, they're applying the same principles to Bitcoin, and what this company came to a conclusion to was that if the May 2020 stock-to-flow ratio of Bitcoin is factored into the model, a vertiginous price of around $90,000 emerges. This would imply that the forthcoming halving effect has hardly been priced into the current Bitcoin price of approximately $8,000. Now, we've mentioned something several times so far, and that's the Bitcoin halving. Just for those of you that are not familiar with the Bitcoin halving is approximately every 4 years, every 200,000 blocks that are added to the blockchain, which is approximately every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin the miners receive is cut in half. Now, currently miners get 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And once that happens, it'll happen approximately in May of 2020. They're going to go from 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes down to 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. And so the amount of Bitcoin that's created, the brand new Bitcoin that exists in the market, is going to be cut in half. And the new supply will be 50% less. starting in May of 2020 and going on into the future. In fact, 4 years down the road, around 2024, it'll get cut in half again, and it'll be down to 3.5. And then in 2028, it'll get cut in half again, and it'll be like 1.7 something or other. I'm not doing the math that quickly in my head, but it'll be somewhere around 1.7. And so you can see that the amount of Bitcoin that's getting created on an annual basis, on a daily basis, or even on a 10-minute basis is dropping significantly over time. And because of that, it's going to significantly increase the value of Bitcoin. So this is an image of what, that's the logo of the bank. And this article tells us that this is actually a state-owned bank. So the state of Germany owns this bank, and this bank has formally come out with their own research article, and they're saying that Bitcoin, based off of the stock-to-flow ratio, Bitcoin versus gold, Bitcoin will be running somewhere around, they estimate, $90,000 per coin. So for those unfamiliar with the stock-to-flow ratio, this is another description. We've kind of covered it good, but I think they say it in a different way here that will help some people understand it better. So for those unfamiliar with the stock-to-flow ratio, refers to the supply of a commodity such as gold or Bitcoin or asset divided by the amount produced annually. This measure points to the abundance or scarcity of a commodity. In other words, the ratio shows the number of years required to achieve the current supply considering the current production rate. Gold is regarded as the commodity with the highest stock-to-flow ratio. However, Bitcoin will become even scarcer than gold, which might be a bullish indicator in the long term. So where are we at currently? This chart shows you these little blips, these little blue dots, is Bitcoin over its lifetime at different points during history. This larger blip is where Bitcoin has been in 2019. And then these objects are palladium, platinum, and silver. And then this one here is where Bitcoin will be in May of 2020 after the halving. And so you can see it's quite a bit below gold. And then as of May of 2020, it's going to get right up there near gold. And in 2024, it will pass gold. So it'll become a scarcer commodity, more scarce than gold is today. And this is part of the reason why Bitcoin's price has gone up so dramatically, is because people have seen how it's becoming more and more scarce, and it's become more and more desirable as people have become more and more aware of it. People have had gold for 5,000 years, but Bitcoin has only been around for a very, very short period of time. And while gold is very common, you can see people wearing gold jewelry all over the place. When you look at the number of people that actually own or hold Bitcoin, we're currently around 0.4%. Catch that, 0.4% of the population. So imagine what's going to happen to the price of Bitcoin as we go from 0.4% of the population owning Bitcoin to 5%, to 10%, to 20%, to 50% of the population owning Bitcoin. We're going to see significant price gains in the future, even though the price isn't there today. I mean, some people think the price is enormous at $8,300, but to be honest with you, I don't think we've seen anything yet. And when I say Bitcoin, we also want to include the altcoins that survive. And I say that specifically because there's a lot of altcoins out there that will not survive. There's already, out of the 1,700 initial coin offerings from 2017, almost 1,000 of that 1,700 has already gone and disappeared. They no longer exist. And so I've done a video on that came out this week. So if you want to go back, look for the one that starts with a title of 994 in the title of the video. And that is the video that talks about some of the dead coins out there. But anyway, we're not really here to talk about dead coins. We're talking about Bitcoin in particular and its future. This is the previous halvings, and you can see, first of all, this is a logarithmic chart, and so down here is 16 cents. Right here it crosses $100. Right here it crosses $1,000. Right in here it crosses $10,000, and then right in here is $20,000. And so you can see that the difference between 10,000 right here, somewhere in here is 10,000, and 20,000 is very small, while the difference between 1,000 and 16 cents is quite large, and that's because this is what's called a logarithmic chart. We use that just so that we can expose the details in these older prices that had a much lower dollar amount. You know, because your price right here, we're looking at a $32 price at this point here. This point here is a $1,200 price, and then this is the $20,000 price. So here's the halving that happened right around just before 2013, and then here's the halving that happened in 2016, and then here's the halving that's going to happen in 2020. And you can see by these patterns how there was a significant push upwards prior to the 2012 halving, and then the price kind of drops down, and then it goes back up, and then you can see that it jumps skyward right after the 2012 halving happens, and then it even had another push up to its final high, an all-time high of about $1,200 happened right in here, and then you can see how it kind of drops down, and it goes through this accumulation and expansion, and then reaccumulation, and then here's where it makes, here's the 2016 halving, and here's where it makes its big run up to the $20,000 price mark of 2017. This happened in December of 2017. And so far, the patterns that we're seeing are very, very similar to what we've seen in the previous historical rates of Bitcoin's prices and its halvings. You know, the only thing that's kind of different here, notice how much less time it was doing the accumulation and how the expansion is also shorter. It looks like some of these timelines for its patterns are actually getting shorter. And so maybe we'll see us hitting the $20,000 price range somewhere in here even before the halving happens, because you can see we hit $1,200 in this one, and it didn't re-hit the $1,200 or its previous all-time high of 2014. It didn't hit that previous all-time high until after the halving. Based off of this, what's happening today with Bitcoin, maybe we're going to hit that all-time high price before the halving happens, which, if that occurs, that would be a very, very bullish indicator of what's going to happen after the halving in the market. So anyway, time will tell. We'll have to wait until all of this is written into the history books before we'll know for sure what really is going to happen. So in the meantime, how can I be of service to you? If you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can ask them privately by using the Google form below. If you include your email address, I'll reply directly to you, or you can always use the comments right here on the YouTube page. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and hodl. Hit the notification bell to be updated as we're putting up new videos, and hit the subscribe bell button so that you can be a subscriber and stay informed about new videos as well. I hope you have a fantastic day, and thank you so much for watching.